Over the last couple of episodes, I've done a ton of work on that tower behind me for a few different projects, and those projects have required that we go into the Nether. So today on the Bedrock Guide, I thought it would be a great idea to go into the Nether, track down the top 10 items that you can get, and convince you that you need to go to the Nether for your next big trip. To get to the Nether, you can find a ruined Nether portal like this in your world, and then repair it, and you're going to need obsidian in order to repair it, and so you can travel down to Y level -54 like this and try to find a lava pool to convert to obsidian, or if you're extremely lucky, sometimes you can find lava pools on the surface, but this is probably your best bet for the first trip. And since you're gonna have to come down here for obsidian anyway to repair the ruined portal, or if you don't even have a ruined portal nearby, you can just grab this obsidian, and then you can take that obsidian quite literally anywhere you want in the world and create your own nether portal. And I think I'm gonna put mine inside the enchanting tower. This is one thing I'm trying to do this season that I've not really done in previous seasons, and that is to make each building somewhat multi-purpose so that we always have a reason to explore the things we've built. For example, in the last episode, we made this hidden bookshelf door that leads down to the dungeon where the skeleton farm is. I'm not necessarily going to need to use this skeleton farm for XP forever, but I feel like that would be really sad to waste this build and then never come back. So I thought we could put the nether portal inside of one of these jail cells, and maybe that's how all of these prisoners escaped. The minimum size that you can build a portal is 4 blocks wide by 5 blocks tall. You don't actually even have to connect up the corners. You can leave those out, but if you do that, I'm never talking to you again. I don't know why anybody builds portals that way. It's ugly, and it doesn't take too much effort to get 4 more blocks. Just fill in the corners. Man, I don't know who that guy thinks he is yelling at you guys like that, but I'm sorry. He's annoying. Okay, now that that guy's gone, the nether portal. It doesn't have to be 4 by 5. You can make it as large as you want. Within reason, there is a maximum size, and that size is escaping me right now, but this definitely does not exceed that size. So I'm gonna go ahead and light it with a flint and steel, and I've already spawned a piglin in here, and he doesn't seem to be doing too well. Whoops. So before I head into the Nether for my trip, I think it's important that we get back to the comment of the day. It's been a few episodes since we've done one of these, so here we are. What's the seed? The most asked question out of anything in my comment section. You don't have to ask anymore because it's gonna be in the description on every video going forward. So go get that seed and follow along in the world if you like. Just don't spoil anything for me, please. I was actually planning on keeping that seed a secret a little bit longer, just so things didn't get spoiled, but you know what? So many of you have been asking to follow along. I know that's important to you, so I didn't want to make you wait any longer. And speaking of making you guys wait, I'm so sorry this video took so long to get out. In the last month, I've been out of town for 3 separate weekends for multiple days at a time. The longest trip that I had was a week long, and it's just been insanely busy. So hopefully life is settling back down and we can get back to the Minecraft stuff we all love. All right, folks, I think we're ready to head into the Nether, but before we do, make sure you take a screenshot of my inventory here, because this is my list of suggested items to take in with you if you're gonna go after some of the things we're going for today. I'm not gonna go over all of these because some of them are pretty obvious, but I do want to make note of the gold leggings. Make sure you bring at least 1 piece of gold armor with you, because if you don't, the piglins are gonna get mad. And trust me, you don't want them to get mad. Also, make sure to bring 1 hopper with you, and we'll go over why here a little bit later. All right, I've got my supplies and I've got my courage. Hopefully I got my good luck too. All right, so as you can see, this has dropped me to a place I have already been, but you actually do not have to keep this same location for your nether portal once you get nether side. This is a pretty precarious situation being this high above lava, especially in a basalt delta, so I'm gonna go back through. And when I go back through, you can see it dropped me at the ruined nether portal, not at my portal over at the tower. Here's how we fix that. First, I'm gonna grab the exact coordinates to my nether portal inside the tower, and then I'm gonna divide the X and the Z by 8. And then I'm gonna go back through my original portal, and then find the exact location where the overworld coordinates are divided by 8 in the Nether, which happens to be right here at 73 and 8.5. But you really can't go on 0.5, so it's either 8 or 9. Also, it doesn't matter that the other portal's way up there and we're down here. The Y coordinate doesn't really affect anything, so put it in the ceiling, put it on the ground, doesn't really matter. But I think we're gonna stick to the ground. And because I don't really want to fall into the lava every time I come to the Nether, I'm gonna shift this portal over to the right a little bit. As long as I don't put any other portals in this general area, which I'm not going to, it shouldn't really matter if it's exactly the direct coordinate divided by 8, as long as it's pretty close. Now all I gotta do is light this thing up and head back through, and we should end up in the skeleton spawner room. So now, unless we experience some really weird bugs, which, let's be real, this is Bedrock edition. It could happen, but it should be fine. I should never end up at the same place as that Nether portal up there. So you're probably wondering, where's this top 10 list thing that you talked about earlier in the video and in the title and advertised on the thumbnail? It's time to get down to it. Let's get going. One of my absolute favorite blocks from the Nether update years ago when it was introduced has always been Blackstone. It can be found in the Basalt Delta, which is honestly one of the most dangerous places in the Nether. So if you're like me, you're probably gonna want to avoid it, but it's so worth it to get Blackstone. It's a great building block that has a lot of varieties, and because it contrasts well with pretty much any color in the game, you can apply it to a lot of different building styles. If you're going to brave the Basalt Delta to go after that amazing Blackstone, you're gonna have to look out for lava, obviously. It's everywhere. You're also gonna want to be careful of magma blocks as well, because if you walk over them, they will give you damage, but you can also avoid that by crouching. But crouching is not the best method to traverse the Basalt Delta because you're gonna be chased by ghasts and the ever so annoying magma cubes. A ghast will shoot a fireball at you as soon as it's in range and angry, and a magma cube will just bounce around and follow you and knock you all over the place and give you damage at the same time. If you're trying to defeat a magma cube, it will split into several magma cubes before it finally gets taken down, but if you're lucky enough, you might get a really cool drop known as magma cream. More on this one later. When you're done stressing yourself out in the Basalt Delta, you can head over to the relaxing and peaceful Warped Forest. As if anything in the Nether can be relaxing and peaceful, but truthfully, the Warped Forest is actually the safest place to be in the Nether because you're only gonna find one monster there for the most part, and that is the Enderman. As long as you don't look at them, they won't look at you. If you do though, just be ready to run. Or you could stand your ground and maybe get a prize for your efforts. Endermen, when defeated, drop ender pearls, which again are very useful items, not part of the top 10, but something we'll talk about a little bit later as well. The reason we're hitting up the Warped Forest is for the warped trees. Because Minecraft requires you to craft a lot of things, and a lot of things are crafted out of wood, it's always great to have an additional source. And not only for crafting, it's a pretty unique color that you can mix into a lot of different builds as well. Just as a side note, on your way to the next location, it might not be a bad idea to drop some blocks on the ground that contrast well in the Nether and place a torch on it that will point you back toward your previous marker that will lead you back to the portal. The Crimson Forest is similar to the Warped Forest in every way, except for it's not. We're back into being in dangerous territory again. You've got piglins that, unless you are wearing gold armor or carrying a piece of gold that you can trade with them, they will attack you on sight. And you also have hoglins that don't even care what kind of armor you're wearing. They're just gonna attack you. There are some ways to keep them away, but for our purposes today, I'm gonna be in and out of here really quick because I'm here for the Crimson Tree. This isn't really a separate item on the top 10 because it's basically the same thing as the Warped Tree, just in a different color, but it's good to know. There are multiple sources of wood that you can get in the Nether. The Soul Sand Valley is not a place you're gonna want to go without an infinity bow. It's not the most dangerous place in the Nether, but you do have some monsters that have the ability to attack you at long range. First and foremost, you have ghasts. We've already talked about them. They spawn here too. In addition to ghasts, you also have skeletons that spawn here, and they're just like they are in the overworld, but the one challenge here is that walking on soul sand makes you go a lot slower. But soul sand and soul soil are the exact exact reason why we are here. With these 2 blocks, you can use them in a variety of decorating styles, especially if you're doing something with earth tones. But decorating is not the only reason to get these 2 blocks. You can also craft soul torches, and you can light the soul sand or soul soil on fire. This will give you a blue flame instead of the traditional yellow-orange color. They're also useful for things like bubble vaders, which I have in the skeleton farm room, and not only can they transport you, they can transport items, so they're great to include in various redstone designs. You're not going to want to skip out on the soul sand valley, as if you could skip anyway, because soul sand, slow. These are terrible jokes, just please don't dislike the video. And once you've moved on from disliking the video, you can move into the Nether wastes. Here is where you're going to find the next couple of items you should absolutely get in the Nether, including gold. I already mentioned earlier that gold is useful for trading with piglins, and it's useful for a number of things in the game, ranging from food sources like golden carrots to various redstone contraptions like powered rails. The Nether wastes is a great place to find gold because it's not too dangerous, especially if you're wearing gold armor to avoid the piglins, and it's easy to spot from a mile away. This next item is an ore that is completely unique to the Nether and can't be found anywhere else in the world. This is Nether quartz. It can be crafted into a variety of quartz blocks, but in my opinion, the more useful aspect of quartz is using it to craft redstone items such as observers, comparators, and daylight sensors. You can make some pretty cool things with these, but you cannot do it without quartz. When you're finally tired of being on the surface where all the dangerous stuff is, you can head below ground where it's still kind of dangerous. Branch mining at Y level 14 in the Nether might give you a chance of finding a lava pocket, and if you do find a lava pocket, you're gonna want to move quickly. Lava travels faster in the Nether than it does in the overworld, so you gotta be on your toes if you're gonna be branch mining. But the real reason to go branch mining is so that you can find ancient debris. Ancient debris can be smelted into netherite scrap and then crafted into netherite ingots. From here, the process is a little bit different to get netherite armor and tools, but for the moment, just know, with the Trails and Tales update that came out this past summer, it's a lot more difficult to craft netherite items now. The Nether Fortress is a maze of hallways and staircases that you will find scattered throughout the Nether. And inside the Nether Fortress lives monsters that you will not find anywhere else in all of Minecraft. This includes the Blaze. The Blaze is a flying Nether monster that will shoot fireballs at you if it gets angry, and they have a pretty long range, so just be careful. When you defeat a Blaze, it has a chance to drop a Blaze Rod. Blaze Rods can be used to craft Blaze Powder, and Blaze Powder can be used to craft things like Eyes of Ender or Fire Charges. It can also be used for potion brewing, but you can't brew potions without the next item. As you wander through the Nether Fortress and wind through the hallways, you might stumble upon a room with a staircase. And next to the staircase will be some soul sand, and growing on top of that soul sand, you'll find netherwort. Netherwort can be crafted into blocks, but it is absolutely crucial if you want to use it for potions, which is a topic that we haven't really covered in this season of the guide yet, but it is coming soon. So if you're in a Nether Fortress and you see netherwort, go ahead and pick it up. One of the most dangerous monsters you can find in all of Minecraft can be found in the Nether Fortress as well. This is the Wither Skeleton. Be careful when you see these guys around, because if they hit you, you will get struck with the Wither effect. And the Wither effect will deplete your health over time. And if you get caught in a place where you have the Wither effect and you're still getting hit by monsters, you're not gonna last very long. One trick that I like to use when I'm inside of a Nether Fortress is to place blocks along the ceiling so that periodically you've got a space that's only 2 blocks tall. Wither skeletons cannot fit in a space that's 2 blocks tall, so it's a natural barrier that will allow them to stay away from you, and as long as you're careful, you can keep hitting them with your sword. When you defeat a Wither skeleton, you've got a very small chance to get a Wither skeleton skull. Even with looting 3 on my sword, it takes a very long time. Unless you're really lucky, you're going to be hunting these guys for a while. We'll talk in a future episode about what you need to do with these, but for now, just know that you need 3. As you're running for your life away from the Wither skeletons, you might find yourself in a Nether Fortress hallway with a loot chest. And if you're lucky enough, inside of the loot chest, you might find a rib armor trim. Armor trims were introduced in the Trails and Tales update and are easily one of the coolest new features that came with Trails and Tales. There are a ton of armor trims all throughout Minecraft, and you can find 2 of them trim in the Nether. In order to find the second armor trim, we need to move beyond the Nether fortress and onto the Bastion. The Bastion was introduced several years ago at this point in the Nether update, and it is home to the piglins and the piglin brutes. When you enter a Bastion, you need to be very careful. They could care less about your gold armor. As soon as they see you, they're going to attack on sight. And after spending the entire episode so far being very careful, I almost died and literally lost everything we've gathered up to this point. Good times in the Nether. But if you can get past the piglin brutes and get the regular piglins to leave you alone, there's a really cool trick to getting inside the Bastion and looting the chests without angering the piglins. Oh yeah, did I mention that? Even if you're wearing gold armor, if you open a chest around a piglin, they get very annoyed and they'll attack you. They're very finicky little creatures. The safest way to loot a Bastion is to dig underneath a chest, and this right here is why we brought the hopper. If you place the hopper directly under the chest, it will pull all of the items down into the hopper, and for some reason, they don't care if you look inside the hopper. So feel free to take anything you want and leave the rest of it on the ground. Just don't open the chest. You can find a variety of items in a Bastion loot chest, but the two things we are looking for are the snout armor trim and the netherite upgrade template. So we're actually not going to go into any kind of detail on how to apply armor trims, how to duplicate them, anything like that. But let me know in the comments if you'd like an episode dedicated to armor trims and all the things that you can do with them. And last but not least, this next item is one that I've actually never gotten in survival before, but that changes today. We have to find a very specific type of Bastion to acquire a lodestone. When you travel to a Bastion remnant, you need to find the bridge variety. Inside of a bridge loot chest, you should find the lodestone. This is incredibly useful because when you go to the Nether, it's super easy to get lost, especially if you've abandoned the tactic that I explained earlier of placing blocks and torches because you ran out of inventory space and had to throw a bunch of stuff on the ground. Now you're probably thinking, can't you just take a compass in there like you do with the overworld? Well, not really. Compasses on their own just spin and spin and spin and do not work in the Nether. However, if you find a lodestone in a Bastion remnant, you can take it and place it on the ground and then tap your compass on the lodestone and it turns it into a lodestone compass. From this point forward until that lodestone is broken, that compass will always point back to that lodestone. So we could put it at our Nether portal and then travel off into the Nether, explore to our heart's content, and as long as we survive, we can use the compass to find our way back home with absolutely no issue. This is actually kind of a really cool feature. I've just never used it before, and today I might have to start. So there you have it. We've got the top 10 items that you can get in the Nether, and not only that, we've got all of this stuff too. If you've never been to the Nether before, or you don't go very often just because you're kind of scared, you might be missing out on some pretty good loot that you can use for a lot of different things in Minecraft. And just because I like you guys, one bonus item, I did craft an ender chest. And if you don't know what this is, you're just gonna have to come back again for another episode of the Bedrock Guide, because that's all the time we've got for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe. And hey, don't go anywhere. There's more Bedrock Guide content on the way.